Good morning and welcome to the morning call. I'm Neil Johnson. It's Monday, April 28th, 2025. What an exciting weekend with the NFL draft. A lot of movement, activity, people falling, others getting picked up. Always an exciting weekend for the sports enthusiast. I want to give a shout out with Pantheon and really keeping them sharp dressed, especially the first rounders like Golden going to the Green Bay Packers, kind of my team, as well as Maxwell to the Buffalo Bills. And this morning honor, I'm wearing my Pantheon suit, so really excited. But let's get started with the news this morning. My colleagues John Ziegler and Dave Opalek. What are we seeing and hearing this morning?
Well, Neil, again, I think that we're seeing a lot of the same things we saw last week. Still a fair amount of uncertainty in the marketplace around tariffs, around Medicaid funding, and CMS cuts, kind of all contributing to a bit of unease in the M&A sector. But you are still, we're still seeing deals get done, particularly around the service side of the business. So there is some hope out there for the right companies, but I think there's some strong headwinds as we move into the next month or so.
I know the conversations, but the tariffs on the service side, it's not really affecting a lot of our clients and people that we deal with. Obviously, like you said, uncertainty, but not not on the healthcare service.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Well, let's get started with the news then. Here we are. Big mega deals with Merck this week to acquire SpringWorks Therapeutics, definitely on the cancer drug approved portfolio, continue to move and see advancements there. But what notable, we were talking UPS making an acquisition.
I think it's interesting, Neil, that, when you think of, prescription delivery, you don't really think of UPS. I mean, it's not the first name that comes to mind. Usually it's FedEx or it's one of the other smaller firms that are, doing that last mile delivery. This will be an interesting one for them because I think it will give them a much better platform to deliver on their healthcare clients' behalf, right?
Yeah, I would agree. So definitely, some of those niche areas, temperature controlled, whether it's medication or other, various specialty items, definitely a niche area.
Going back to John's, GLP panacea here. At some point, maybe we'll be able to see that delivered directly to people's homes.
Well, it's nice to think of them as the one-stop shop for all of your medical logistics services. So it's a good play.
Another mega deal, Zimmer Biomet completing the $1.2 billion acquisition of Paragon 28. Another public company, Concentra, I feel like we haven't seen that too much in the news, acquiring Pivot On-Site Innovations from Athletico. So really a corporate carve-out. We're definitely seeing and having discussions with a lot more of these in today's environment. I know this is expanding the footprint of Concentra, which provides on-site location to corporations. Cardio One making an acquisition. Windrose, the sponsor, definitely a large private equity firm that's very entrenched and experienced in the healthcare sector. So good to see some activity here.
Yeah, Windrose is a big player in healthcare services, whether it's direct to consumer, whether it's a sort of alignment with IT services. Interesting play for them, but I always keep my eye on what they're doing because they tend to do a pretty good job with these things. This will be an interesting one to follow for the next 6 or 9 months.
Centauri Health Solutions expanding with the acquisition of MedAllies. Some big players, Abry Partners and Silversmith Private Equity, but also the venture firm SV Health Investors in there. So I don't know all of the service, but definitely continue to expand the reach and
platform. I think that in this particular case, the expansion of interoperability is absolutely critical in the probably really expanding value-based care world. We know CMS is pushing down everybody's throats, value-based care. So this will have a great impact.
So really positioning it for the upcoming changes in value-based, I would agree. Revelier bolsters value-based, as we talked about, with some acquisition as money and movements continue to try to figure out where the best positioning to be going forward for value-based. Principal Health Systems expanding the Midwest footprint, Heartland Health laboratory acquisitions. Obviously, labs is a hot area with all the life science changes, all the clinical trials. Continue to be an attractive area for acquisitions and private equity investment.
Yep.
We're seeing Wad Capital continue to be active with Alto Care and HR Growth Partners acquiring MedTech Healthcare. Investments into home care services, definitely continue to see activity in home care. I think some of the challenges that we've seen and talked about is really the staffing side of it, how to maintain the staffing going forward. U.S. Pediatric Partners backed by Webster acquiring Hope Services in the behavioral health network.
Yeah, again, with Webster, another, giant in the health services side of things. Interesting to see them making some of these moves now. I think they're looking to grow that particular that Pediatric Partners platform. But it'll be interesting again to see how this one shakes out with sort of the current environment in pediatrics around reimbursements, around making some of those behavioral health services in particular pay out. It'll be, again, I think scale is a big factor here. If you can dominate in this space or in the region, I think there's a certain amount of economies of scale you can get, and this is just one step to a much larger platform for them.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the diversity of state and reimbursement, the pediatric market is favorable to certain funds and not interested by others, because you really need to get in and understand the reimbursement in each of the marketplaces. Regardless of the physician practice and some of the challenges with the PPM market, it's good to see some deals getting done as we see the dermatology acquisition here. Promptly enhances patient experience suite with MD prospects and patient spectrum acquisition.
I think it's fascinating that there's a lot of emphasis then on creating a CRM package as your lead into improving patient engagement and satisfaction. I think it makes sense. There's an example there that Nabla thinking about workforce challenges in the care delivery space. So it's great to see some other people, not just the three of us, thinking about the challenges in the workplace, in the workforce.
John?
And continuing on Simon Med, as we talked about earlier, 2 weeks in a row, we have some great investments going on in the women's health space. And AI certainly is taking a leading role in the image recognition. Reducing the false positives, that's a nice thing. That's a very comforting thing for an individual that is being diagnosed or going into an exam and finding too often it's a false positive. It creates a lot of stress. So nice to see that is an improvement potential.
On to some venture capital and other news this morning. Nourish secures $70 million Series B from JP Morgan, Thrive Capital, Index Ventures, and Y Combinator, expanding this virtual nutrition platform. We're definitely seeing food as medicine and nutrition as a high targeted area for investment and expansion. Also seeing BioLink securing $100 million Series C by Alpha Wave Ventures with RiverVest. I'm not sure many of these other investors. Healthly lands $50 million Series B, Key One Capital, and Group 11, Fin Capital, Gilead Capital, in an oversubscribed round. So continue to see with these AI platforms to attract capital. World Class Health secures $10 million from Transformation Capital to expand global healthcare network.
I find that one fascinating because of their thesis. Their objective is to create centers of excellence for employers to offer costs that are Medicare level costs to their employees. Interesting objective.
And finally, Ace Vision Group secures $29 million Series B to advance Botch's presbyopia laser treatment. I'm not familiar with that. Any of you familiar with that?
Letting our eyeballs be able to focus better. So what happens is typically your lens hardens, making it harder for you to focus. And if we can do something very quickly and easily to eliminate your need for eyeglasses, I guess that's a great savings. And globally.
Well, that's it for the news this morning. I want to note the Healthcare Capital Markets Innovation Summit coming up here quickly in a month. Really excited to have hundreds of investors, private equity, venture, family offices, as well as investment bankers and executives joining us here in Columbus, the Smart Health City. So please join us for conversation, deal making, and investment. You can register today at healthcarecapitalmarkets.com.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for catching up with us this morning. Looking forward to another busy week in deal activity. Please stay in touch, subscribe today, and look forward to more innovating.
See you next week, everybody.
See you.